All right, guys, this one's a quick one regarding the January 6th. It's a hoax. I've been pretty vocal about it. That from day one, I was there. I saw what happened, and I knew from the get-go that it was a setup. The police officers were definitely all in on it, and it was definitely set up to. The whole purpose of January 6th, the main purpose was to cause a distraction to certify the election as soon as possible and not allow for any debate on potential voter fraud. So the number one goal was to have some major like security threat, something to that effect, where they were basically like, they had to shut down debate and say, this is an insurrection, or they're trying to, destroy democracy. So we must certify immediately. And that's what it was. So that was one of the reasons, but they also wanted to use, this insurrection story as a way to prevent Donald Trump from ever running from office again. That's why they tried to impeach him, and that's why they kept calling it an insurrection. All of them got their talking points to call it an insurrection because that's the legal term that has to be satisfied to prevent a person from taking office or ever being able to hold office again. So with that said, and then there's also other things, but those are the two main reasons. The number one reason was to certify the election immediately. So my personal opinion is the pipe bomb story was a backup story. I believe that there's potentially two credible reasons for the pipe bomb story, but I heard that the other reason for the pipe bomb story was so that they could justify pulling police officers from the Capitol building to send them over to the DNC and the RNC to investigate this pipe bomb or these pipe bombs, and that way they have fewer police officers, so that the quote-unquote riots would be even worse and cause more chaos and destruction and stuff like that. That's very possible. I could very well see that, but I personally believe that it was a backup plan just in case the insurrection narrative didn't take off, wasn't a viable option. But then once people were shooting the smoke bombs and stuff like that, and people were shoving police and stuff like that, that I believe that they said there's no reason to use the pipe bomb story, abandon it. And as I said before, there's a reason why the Democrats, particularly that guy Benny, I can't remember his name now. He was the one that was in charge of the committee that was investigating January 6th. Whenever he was asked, or when he was before the Congress and he was being questioned, you could tell he did not want to answer any questions. I highly recommend you guys check out Thomas Massey and this guy Benny going back and forth, and you'll see what I'm talking about. He does not want to answer any questions, and he had no interest in finding out really any details regarding the pipe bomb story. And the whole thing is like, this whole thing was that the first female, non-white vice president could have been, technically assassinated, and there's no interest, and they've never talked about it again. So there's always some very easy cues to see whether a story is very credible or not. You get not to get into too much of that, but I don't know if you guys have been following the news. It seemed like it's going to break more, but the person of interest that set the pipe bombs, video and just more of evidence of who planted the bombs has come out, and it's honestly, if you really look at it, the most of the credit goes to investigative journalist. His name is Steve Baker. Please, if you can, go follow him on X and just all social media. I believe his name is Steve Baker USA on X. Please, if you guys are into this stuff, I'm gonna make another video on it, but please support these people. If you can, donate to them. I always try to donate as much as I can to these creators. It's not a simple thing to do. So this guy really went through a lot of problems in he was trying to get to the bottom of it, and he got arrested, and he obviously got a lot of pushback on finding the evidence, but so he had a really good interview with Glenn Beck. I believe it was 2 days ago. Very good. He didn't name the person, but he basically said that they had figured it out. It's a female. So from my understanding today on Saturday is that the woman that did it, her name is Shawnee Kerkhoff, Kerkoff. She at the time was a Capitol Police officer. So she's obviously been identified. I mean, it's from what I heard, it was like a 94% accuracy that it's her. So the story behind her is she planted the pipe bombs, and right after she did that, she actually went right back to the Capitol building and was one of the police officers that was, shooting rubber bullets and, tear gas. And she was actually quoted. This is what her quote is. She said, "If you want to start a riot, shoot people in the head." So she obviously, I mean, as I said, it's clear as day. I mean, it's just sad that we have to kind of always say like allegedly. I mean, it's clear as day what happened. But so what ended up with her was she remained as a Capitol Police officer for 6 months after January 6th, and then she was, I guess technically promoted to the FBI. So in the story that Steve Baker talks about, while he was working with the FBI, he said that they knew very quickly that she was one of them. That's why he said, "Holy F, she's one of us." So they all know that. So here's an interesting development that I think is very telling. And I will admit, I've been kind of under a lot of, stress and stuff, but I didn't put it together. So if you guys haven't heard, Nancy Pelosi is not seeking re-election. And from the sources that I've, seen, they're saying that she's not seeking re-election because she knows that she's going to be implicated. And she basically is trying to get this, get her seat filled. From my understanding, she's actually trying to get her daughter to take her spot in Congress, which is not surprising and just kind of, ridiculous when they say that Trump's a king, and they've been keeping these positions in Congress, for decades and decades and decades. But But yeah, so very interesting development. I think that there's very credible evidence that this is going to become a very big story, and that the fact that she's retiring is huge. It basically tells you that this is very credible, and I think that it's going to open up. Not only did the government involved in this, they knew, and they wanted to prevent. They knew that the election was stolen, and that they wanted to prevent any debate. They didn't want any of the evidence presented to the American people. So I personally, I know a lot of people keep saying, oh, no one's gonna get arrested, no one's gonna be held accountable. I disagree. I mean, I'm gonna make another video on it, but I'm telling you, I think 2026 is gonna be the start of the arrests and stuff like that. But I personally think that Trump and his administration has all the incentive to reveal the truth of what happened, because it basically is proof of what people have been saying about how the government has been causing a lot of false flags or involved in these kinds of things that are not organic. They're all synthetic, where it's all pre-planned and all of that stuff. So I think that this is going to be a big story. And like I said, the fact that Nancy is retiring, I know she's old. I don't think that she would retire, until they basically have to drag her out like Mitch McConnell. He's completely incoherent, and he's still, I don't know if you know this about Mitch McConnell. He has his own personal, I guess you'd call him an assistant. But he basically uses him to as a prop so that he can keep standing, to keep his balance. So, these people have no interest in relinquishing power. The fact that she is very telling, but I was kind of distracted lately, and I didn't put these two things together. So I think that this is going to be a very big story. I don't think that the Democrats can really do anything about it, because there's just so much overwhelming, evidence. So like I said, I think that 2026 and 2027 is going to be, two big years of this stuff, these kinds of things coming out. I do want you guys to understand that if these arrests and all that start happening, understand and be prepared that, there's a more likelihood of, some type of, natural disaster or some kind of major event that is going to try to distract from the momentum of them exposing this stuff. So understand that, if they start arresting people and holding people accountable, the left has a reason to distract, and they don't have a problem burning stuff down or blowing stuff up or whatever. I still believe you have to be prepared for a power outage. I think that that's very, very likely. And one thing I can say is that they're not going to let Trump have a presidency the way that it's been going so far, because he's been, I think that their plan was to, they had to let him win. They couldn't steal it again. So they had to let him win, and their focus was going to be to steal the down ballots, like what they just did for New Jersey, Virginia, and I guess, I don't know about the New York, I don't know if I can say that about New York's, mayoral race, but yes, they stole those elections, and they basically were going to fight Trump using lawfare. There's a reason why they've been taking him to court on stuff that most presidents would have had no problem doing. and they were going to use their activist judges to prevent him from doing, which is obviously exactly what's going on. But one thing that's very good is that he has lost a lot from the original court cases, but he has won a lot on appeals. So I think so far Trump has been doing pretty good. He's been pretty successful, which is a huge feat in itself. So yeah, that's basically the gist of it. I think that this is going to be a big story, and I think that they have all the incentive to let the truth out and really push. Use this as a means to start pushing. Continue forward. All right. Let me know if you think I'm wrong on anything. But I like to use these as just kind of evidence. I don't like being wrong, and I don't make these videos just haphazardly. I try to be as accurate. I want to be known for predicting with high accuracy. But that's my prediction.